It's a blessing that has come to you. You can take this opportunity to discover who you can be, and every morning be a joyous soul. For you are sacred, loved, and whole. And if you want the joy that never ends, you gotta keep it showing. Keep it showing. Keep it flowing. Keep it flowing. Keep it growing. Keep it growing. After we say the last amen, you gotta go out. Go out. You gotta reach out. Reach out. You gotta shout out. Shout out. What goes forth comes back again. You gotta go out. Oh, you gotta reach out. You gotta shout out. 'Cause what goes forth comes back again. What goes forth comes back. I tell you, what goes forth comes back again. Thank you.
Written by our own Blair Jones.
Yeah. And it's true.
It is true.
Four engineers are arguing about who designed the human body. The mechanical engineer points to the way the bones and the muscles and the tendons all join together in this perfect harmony, and they work so efficiently and beautifully, and he claims that it must have been a mechanical engineer that designed the human body. The electrical engineer designs a diagram showing the central and peripheral nervous systems and maintains that an electrical engineer must have designed such a thing of great beauty. And the hydraulic engineer insists that only a hydraulic engineer could be responsible for the circulation of the blood and the nerves and the secretions of all the many glands. And then they all turn to the civil engineer, who says, don't look at me. No civil engineer would ever put a sewer outlet next to a recreational area. I know, keep it clean, it's a church. So today is our 2022 annual prosperity plan meeting, our congregational meeting to talk about the church finances. So I thought that I would have a message title today about the abundance of constant circulation. And you know, in the natural scheme of things, in the universe, abundance and circulation are happening all the time everywhere, outside of us, even within us all the time. So we have the wind currents traveling all around the globe, all these different levels that are mapped, and the jet stream, which is also just traveling globally. You know, I always thought that from the weatherman, it just kind of happened here, but actually goes clear across the world and around again. We have ocean currents, and look how complicated this is. All of these different ocean currents everywhere, some of them going all around the globe, some of them just kind of localized in different bodies of water, all moving all the time, constantly. We have the tectonic plates. Now magma, volcanic magma is moving and flowing all the time deep beneath the Earth's surface, in some places like New Zealand, not so deep. The tectonic plates are underneath all the different continents. They're moving at between 0.08 and 2 inches a year, right? All the time. So what we feel it's solid underneath. How many of you remember the earthquake we had 10 years ago? 5.8 magnitude earthquake in Charlottesville, right? So they're moving all the time. In fact, there was a theory that was put forth by Alfred Wegener, a German meteorologist in 1912. He postulated that around 335 million years ago, the Earth, the planet Earth, was one supercontinent, which he called Pangaea. And then around 200 million years ago, the tectonic plate shifts began breaking the continents apart. And he said that 300 million years from now, the continents will, because of the shifting, will come back again together into one supercontinent, which he calls Pangaea Proxima. So finally, unity in the world, right? We have to wait 300 million years. But it's interesting to look at the similarities. This is 335 million years ago. This is 300 million years from now. A 600 million year cycle. Fascinating, isn't it? This is a picture taken from the Hubble telescope. Even the galaxies, the stars, the Earth, the planets, the galaxies, everything is moving, everything is circulating. This is an image of two galaxies on a collision course. They're 100 million light years away. This is the spiral galaxy NGC 5953 and 5954, and they're in the process of merging. And according to scientists, they will gradually come together, forming one huge elliptical galaxy, much the same way that the Milky Way one day may merge with our nearest galaxy, which is Andromeda. We have a lot to look forward to. How about our human bodies? 60,000 miles of blood vessels that circulate 1.5 gallons of blood every day, right? I still can't figure out how we can fit 60,000 miles of anything in our little tiny bodies. I don't know even how they can figure that out, but everything moving, everything circulating all the time. And have you ever wondered how many grains of sand there are in the world? Someone who had nothing better to do actually figured this out. He said that if you assume that a grain of sand has an average size, and you could measure the amount of grains of sand in a teaspoon, and then you could multiply it by all the beaches and all of the deserts in the world, that the Earth would have 7 quintillion, 500 quadrillion grains of sand. Problem solved, right? Now, what is my point in sharing these little finite details with you all? It's that we live in an abundant universe where movement and circulation are part of life, part of the macrocosm and part of the microcosm. And which may have brought the psalmist to proclaim in ecstasy in Psalm 8, Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name on all the earth. You have set your glory in the heavens. When I consider your heavens and the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them? You have made them a little lower than angels and crowned them with glory and honor. You have made them rulers over the works of your hands and put everything under their feet, all flocks and herds and the animals of the wild and the birds of the sky, all that swim in the paths of the seas. Lord, Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Now, there's a fundamental principle in unity that we cannot not direct energy, right? That we cannot not be the co-creators of our experience in the world. Mary Morrissey calls this creating by design or default, meaning that if we don't consciously design our life, then we are unconsciously creating something else. And the question is, how would you rather create? Would you rather be conscious and awake to create what you want, or just kind of, let things fall where they may, unconsciously? And of course, we've said here often that abundance isn't just about money. We've said that quite a lot, right? Abundance is also about relationships. It's about health. It's about career. It's about time, creativity. It's about all of that stuff. And we can have an abundance of prosperity consciousness, but we can also have an abundance of poverty consciousness, which seems like an oxymoron. How do you have an abundance of poverty consciousness, right? Well, that happens if we have an abundance of ideas about thoughts of lack and limitation, or an abundance of ideas of things that we want to make up to worry about all the time. That's how we have an abundance of ideas in poverty consciousness. Abundance is about ideas. It's about ideas that are expressed as thoughts that we shape into substance, that we shape into manifestation by the power of the mind. And the abundance of ideas is not something that's static. Our ideas are movements in the mind. They circulate in the mind, and they can keep us in the flow of life, or they can keep us out of the flow of life, as we all know, right? When we're blocked up, congested, restricted, we are out of the flow of life, and we know it. So I'd like to share with you one of the clearest and most powerful statements about this that I've come across. It's by a man named Wallace Wattles. I think we talked about him several years ago. Wallace Wattles was a New Thought writer. He wrote and taught in 1910, and he wrote a book called The Science of Getting Rich. And this is what Wallace Wattles wrote. He said, "There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates and penetrates and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces a thing that is imagined by the thought. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created." Now, you need to know that Wallace Wattles has different names for God. So a name for God for him is formless intelligence, formless substance, intelligent substance. That's his different names for God. Sometimes he calls God the supreme, all of that. But it's a powerful statement, isn't it? It's what we know in unity as the law of mind action. And you've heard this idea before as well. But there's also one thing that Wallace Wattles acknowledges, and that is that there is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of a sustained and consecutive thought. Have you noticed that to be true? He said it's the hardest work in the world. And this is especially true when truth is contrary to appearances. So we prayed this morning for world peace. And you have seen what is going on in Russia and Ukraine. There are hundreds of thousands of troops and tanks and equipment and missiles surrounding the Ukraine, poised, right? And yet we are here proclaiming and claiming world peace. It takes a lot of moxie to do that, It takes a lot of guts to do that, to have an affirmation, a prayer, to hold something in our awareness that by outward appearances just does not seem at all like the way things that we're praying about is. So first, says Wattles, first we have to believe in such a thing as formless substance. We have to believe that there is an ever-present reality, that we are of it and it is of us, and that it underlies, permeates, and penetrates the interspaces of the universe. First step. Eric Butterworth says that the allness of universal substance is forever moving into the eachness that you are. The second thing he says is that we have to believe that we can make an impression in this formless substance, that our thoughts have power, that our thoughts can actually make a difference, that we can actually manifest what we want to create with our thoughts. In my last year of college, when I should have been studying for my psychology degree, I spent much of my time, actually most of my time, in a darkroom developing photos that I had taken. And this is the days before digital. So those were the days when you would stick a piece of blank photographic paper in some toxic chemicals, and then you would watch magically as they came to life. It was absolute magic to see these images pop up out of nowhere. And what if universal substances or formless substance is like that? It's like that piece of photographic paper, and that whatever you impress upon it comes to life. That would be the power of our mind, the power of our thinking. If we could hold a consecutive thought, we could do that. That's a spiritual discipline. And third, we have to believe that we actually deserve, that we can actually have what we want, whether it's money or relationships or love or higher consciousness, whatever it is, better health, more friends, that we have to believe that we deserve it and that we can actually have it. And Wattles called this unwavering faith. Unwavering faith. So there's a story about Mother Teresa. She went to her superiors in Rome, and she told them that she wanted to build a mission in India. And the priest said to her, how much money do you have? And she said, I have 3 pennies. And they laughed. They laughed at her. And that tiny nun, all 4 feet 8 inches of her, stood up and she said, with 3 pennies from God, I can build anything. And she went on to build 517 orphanages, homes for the poor, AIDS hospices, and charities in 100 countries around the world. So Mother Teresa, in this story, had unwavering faith despite all outer appearances, faith that there was enough money and enough goodwill to go around. And we know that to be true in the world of abundance and prosperity, right? I don't know if you've read the last week or so, maybe 2 weeks, Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, was challenged by the director of the World Food Organization at the UN to end world hunger. And Musk said, well, how much does it take? And the guy said $6.6 billion. Well, there was actually a misstatement. What the director really meant was with about $6.6 billion, he could save 43 million people who are on the verge of starvation right now. And Elon Musk donated $5.74 billion, right? So money is there, right? Not just with him. The money is there in our to end world hunger. We just don't do it. We don't have the will to do it, apparently. So, but it's there. So Jesus established the pattern of perfect circulation. He wrote in Luke that give and it will be given back to you, a good measure pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure that you give will be the measure you get back. That's the pattern of the law of circulation. There's a reciprocal relationship between our giving and our receiving. And so life is about flow, life is about circulation, life is about movement, just like inhaling and exhaling, just like the wind currents circling around the globe, the ocean currents circling around the globe, the magma circulating underneath the globe. And when we don't give of ourselves, when we don't give of our time, our talent, our spiritual gifts, our money, when we don't share our blessings, we stagnate. Life stagnates. And so this leads to a topic that is sometimes difficult to hear, difficult to talk about, and even difficult to do. And that is the subject of tithing. Now, tithing is not something that is comfortable for me to talk about at all, because I know it's difficult for people to hear about, because I was one of those people. I know it well. But we're taught repeatedly by our great teachers that tithing is a spiritual law. I actually prefer to think that it's not tithing that's the spiritual law, but giving is the spiritual law. Giving is a spiritual law, and tithing is a spiritual discipline that makes giving easier. That's kind of how I think about it. But tithing is giving 10% of our income to a source of spiritual nourishment, which, by the way, means that you get to keep 90%. Right? Patricia and I tithe 10% of everything that we earn, all that we receive. And we've been doing that, and we do that cheerfully and with open hearts, and we've been doing that for decades, maybe 30 years or so. And Unity of Charlottesville tithes 10% off the top from everything that we receive as a church, everything that comes in. So even when our church finances are up and down, which they frequently are, Unity of Charlottesville is a philanthropic organization. Did you know that? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more in the Prosperity Plan meeting today. So in the beginning, I had a lot of difficulty with tithing for many reasons that you may be thinking right now, some of you. Above all, it was the fear of not having enough. It was just the fear of not having enough, not wanting to spend my hard-earned money, not wanting to spend money that I was saving for the future, not having money to pay the bills, all of that stuff. Fear was about that. And over time, I realized that tithing hit the core of my own distortion about my relationship with God. And that is because very few conversations put you more into the question about where your source is and what your source is than the subject of tithing. Very few conversations are so painful. And trying to rationalize it doesn't work. You could say, well, when I win the lottery, then I'll tithe, which is kind of like screaming into a wood fireplace and saying, give me some heat and then I'll put wood in you, right? You have to put the wood in first. So the first crack in my resistance to tithing was that my ministers at Unity of the Bay in Florida, in Miami, were telling me not to give to them or to give to the church. They were being honest about it. Their church needed money. Every church needs money, but they said, don't do that. They said, give to where you feel spiritually nourished. Give to where you feel spiritually fed. And I thought that was pretty neat. It actually turned out that where I was spiritually fed was at that church, ironically. But I know a mistake of many first-time tithers is the expectation of results from tithing. And a lot of prosperity teachers, I think, mistakenly promise that. They say that if you tithe, you'll get back more income than you give out, right? And I don't think that's really the purpose of tithing or the spiritual law of giving at all. Tithing is not about getting something back. It's about circulating our good. It's about being in the flow of life. It's about being in the flow of giving and receiving. And it's about the privilege of giving. When our hearts are full, when our wallets are full, we want to give, right? So I talk about this today because I feel it's my responsibility to bring this up every once in a while. We want to share the spiritual tools and the spiritual laws that we're taught about and that our founders taught and that many New Thought teachers and Jesus himself taught. So if tithing or consistent giving is frightening, maybe it would be a good time to ask yourself, what is my source? Where is my source? Is it my job? Is it my Social Security? Is it my family? Is it my investments? Or is it the God of my understanding? What is my source? If tithing or consistent giving is frightening, maybe it's time to take a closer look, just to inquire, read about it, listen about it, watch YouTube things about it, speak to someone who's giving consistently or is a tither, speak to me or one of our board members about it. And not just because I'm suggesting this to you, but because every New Thought teacher, every good prosperity teacher teaches about the law of circulation as a spiritual law. And if tithing or consistent giving is threatening, you might try stepping into the water gradually, starting with a percentage in some structured way. That's actually what I did. I started with 3%, and then I went up to 5%, and then eventually I went up to 10%. That felt easier for me to do. The spiritual exercise is about getting into the flow of giving in a structured way, getting into the flow of life in a structured way. You can increase cardiovascular efficiency by working out. And you increase the spiritual capacity for abundance by increasing the spiritual capacity for giving. There's a reciprocal arrangement. As you give, it is given to you. And as true students, whether it's Unity or whether you're somewhere else, you're going to keep coming across this particular conversation over and over again because it's what it means to be in spiritual community. You just need to hear this and ponder it, think about it. What does it mean? The law of circulation says that if you would be abundant, if you would be happy and prosperous, you must be part of the constant flow of circulation. And so tithing of time and treasure and talent, that's one way to do that. But the key is to give joyfully and to give cheerfully and to give with gratitude and appreciation. Because if you don't do that, don't tithe. You shouldn't. You shouldn't do that. You should only tithe when it feels right, when it feels like it's the next step, when it feels right to you. We have to listen to our own inner guidance about that. And traditionally, tithing is giving 10% of your gross earnings. If 10% inspires you, go for it. But if the amount that stretches you and makes you examine and move beyond your beliefs and your limitations is less than that, go for that. Try a percentage, 3%, 5%. 8%. Take it into prayer. In Unity, we differ from any other denominations in that we don't require tithing. And actually, quite honestly, we don't talk about it that often. We don't promote shame or guilt about giving or not giving. That's not our way. We are a path of appreciation and gratitude. That's our spiritual practice. is not to question who gives, who doesn't give, not to question how much someone gives or doesn't give. It's to be appreciative and to be grateful for all that we receive. That's our blessing that we do before our offering every Sunday. So abundance and the flow of circulation starts where you are right now. What are you grateful for? Where are the blessings in your life? What is or where is the abundance in your life right now? And how do you share your abundance? Not just money, but how do you share your abundance, your spirit? How do you share your gifts with other people? And so I want to give you a few things to consider this week. The first is what we've already talked about from Wallace Wattles. A powerful statement of mind, right? That there is a thinking stuff which all things are, from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. I'm actually in a program right now with Maria Namath, where for 90 days I am affirming this every single day for 90 days, this statement, and some other statements as well, to see how, and it's an experiment really, to see how ingrained this can be and how it changes, or the way we focus and the way we perceive the world. So I'm kind of a human guinea pig for that. The last part of that is that man, and I would say man and women, I would include that, man and women can form things in his or her thought, and by oppressing his or her thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he or she thinks about to be created. Do you believe that? Yeah, do you believe that? The next three things are additional practices that may be just something to consider this week. The first is to take the good you experience, take the good that you're experiencing now, the good that you have right now, and bless it. This is all about blessing. Be willing to receive your good and bless it. Be willing to be open and receptive to the flow of abundance in your life and bless it. Some of us, I include myself, are really experts at giving and not that great at receiving, right? We have to work on that. The second is to recognize that while there is only one source for your abundance, there are many channels for your good, some of them unexpected. We don't always know where our good is coming from. And we can experience prosperity and abundance regardless of outer circumstances. And the third is to circulate to accelerate. That is, put yourself into a spiritual practice of giving your spiritual gifts, giving your financial resources, without worrying about what you'll get back in return. Consider tithing 10% of your income, and if you can't bring yourself to do that, start with a smaller amount. Start with percentage giving. Whatever feels comfortable, whatever is done cheerfully and joyfully and with open heart. Otherwise, don't do it. And notice what happens in your life. So I want to close with some words from Khalil Gibran, from the prophet. He was asked, you often say, I would give, but only to the deserving. The trees in your orchard say not so, nor the flocks in your pasture. They give that they may live, for to withhold is to perish. See first that you yourself deserve to be a giver and an instrument of giving, for in truth it is life that gives unto life, while you, who deem yourself to be a giver, are but a witness. So let's prepare for meditation.
flow to you, flow to you. Let the river of my worship flow to you. Lord, I pray in all I do. Let the river of my worship flow to you. Like streams in the valley, swell with the rain. May the songs of my heart rise to bless your name and flow to you, flow to you. Let my worship flow to you. Flow to you, flow to you. Let the river of my worship flow to you. Lord, I pray in all I do. Let the river of my worship flow to you. Like streams in the valley, swell with the rain. May the songs of my heart rise to bless your name and flow to you, flow to you. Let my worship flow to you. I love you, Lord, and everything about you. I worship you with all my heart. Let all my heart flow to you, flow to you. Let the river of my worship flow to you. Lord, I pray in all I do. Let the river of my worship flow to you. Like streams through the valley, swell with the rain. May the songs of my heart, may they rise to bless your name and flow to you, flow to you. Let my worship flow to you. May all my worship, let all my praise flow to you, flow to you.
So as we continue in this time of meditation, I invite you to just consider what it means to be in the flow of things that we can't viscerally perceive. We're not perhaps aware of the currents circulating in the wind right now, or the waves, or the oceans, or the magma beneath our feet, or the blood circulating in our body, or the oxygen moving as we inhale and as we exhale. We are in a flow of life on a great macrocosmic scale. And even as we sit here in our meditation, we are aware of the inhalations and the exhalations of our breath. I invite us to just sit in silence for a while and just to notice your breathing, notice the flow of your thoughts as our mind, our thoughts, our ideas circulate. We can observe them without judgment or criticism, just being aware of the flow of thought, the flow of silence in the silence. So as we bring this time of meditation to a close, noticing flow, noticing our ideas, our thoughts, noticing circulation, we have a sense that we as the thinker can actually direct our thoughts. We can direct our energy. And that's the question that we leave with today as we move into this week. Where do I want my flow of energy to go? What do I want to create? What do I want to affirm? What do I want to see manifesting in my world? That's where I choose to impress my thoughts upon infinite substance, formless intelligence. So we say thank you for this time together. I invite you to, just when it feels comfortable, to slowly open your eyes.
Reverend Don and Blair, the two of you are the embodiment of abundance. Thank you so much. Week after week after week, you bring so many gifts to all of us to serve us totally and selflessly to feed our souls. Thank you so much. We love you. You too. My joy. So we have an opportunity now to give back a portion of all of the good that we've received. As we prepare for this, though, I would first like to welcome anyone that's possibly here for the first time on this beautiful Sunday morning. Nobody here in the sanctuary? If there is anybody online that's with us for the first time, we welcome you as well and hope you'll come back. There are many ways to give to Unity of Charlottesville. You can give online, text to give, the US mail, or in our beautiful butterfly net that is coming around. We're very grateful to all of you who have sustained us through such challenging times with the pandemic and continue to do so. We would not be here were it not for your generosity. We are truly, truly, truly blessed. We love all of you. So let us say our prosperity blessing together. If we, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Thanks.
There is more than enough for a universe that you created. There is more than enough on a planet of sacred design. There is more than enough for humanity
So we have some opportunities for transformation.
Yes.
And if you came in a little bit late, our prosperity plan meeting today, the Board of Trustees will present to you its prosperity plan, which is our fancy word for budget. And you can ask any questions that you have, and we'll just go over that in detail. And it'll be right here in the sanctuary, just right after the healing helpers are through. We didn't have the opportunity to do this last week because we didn't have church, but Reverend Patricia has donated a lot of her stuff. She's been cleaning out. That's what she's doing in her retirement so far. And she had a lot of shawls and clothing and little items, and she's donated them to the bookstore, and they're available for a love offering. So all the proceeds will go to Unity if you'd like to check that out.
And our midweek faith lift has apparently shifted into a midweek healing service. Lots of healing going on. So every Sunday via Zoom from 6:30 to 7 o'clock. Please join us. What did I say? Sunday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Oops.
And Ginger Collier is continuing her book study group on Gaia, God's Gift to Gaia. And it's on Saturdays once a month now. I think the next one is March 12th. So if you're interested in joining that book study group, it's ongoing. And you can contact Ginger and she'll let you know. And I have a great interest in reinvigorating Love University. We had that many years ago. We called it Love U, and it's sort of an adult education curriculum that was given by people who had expertise in different areas of spirituality. I'd like to see that going here again. And so if you have something to share that you'd like to share kind of on a one lesson kind of thing, let me know and we'll try to schedule it, put it on the church calendar.
And we have a pastoral care team, as you all know. If anyone is in need, just call the Unity office at any time that we're open, and Don or Christine will put you in touch with the pastoral care team. And virtual fellowship will be happening right after this service on Zoom. So stay with us immediately following the peace song for our interactive virtual fellowship. Is this still happening with the?
Yeah, actually, that's gonna feed into the prosperity plan meeting. The prosperity plan meeting will also be available on Zoom. So if you're, did we ever get YouTube working? Only on Zoom. So yeah. So if you're on Zoom, please stay on for the prosperity plan meeting as well.
Okay, great. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And we have no children, I don't think so. We do. Let's do our. You want to come up and do the blessing? Oh, good. Oh. There you go.
Wonderful Girls' Day today and did a lot of fun energy, plasma energy ball work and talking about God and energy and spirits and healing and
Hi. So today we read a book about how God is in everyone and everything. And then we had a little discussion about it. And then we took some bowls and put tinfoil on them and held them up to our face to feel the heat that radiated off our bodies. And then we got out this plasma ball and we sat in a circle and held hands to feel all of our energy. And then we made like a little energy ball, but there was no actual ball because we just felt the energy because the energy was there and we felt it.
it was great.
Great, thanks, thank you. So let's do our blessing for together, children, Uniteens, Wild-Ewers, teachers, and parents. You are loved,
special, and important.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Well, thanks, everybody. We want to thank all the folks that helped out today. We have someone new today. We have Maggie from Albemarle High School, who was is in training for our video help, and so we thank you, Maggie, for being here.
Maggie!
And Greg and Boyne and Bob up in the sound booth, and of course Jim and Blair and our wonderful musicians, John and Kevin and Janice, and our celebration assistant, Janice, and our blessing teams today, Barbara and Carol. Thank you, everybody, for helping out.
And Don,
I mean,
take a bow. Take a bow.
Love having your guitar today.
Thanks, everybody. So let's stand and join together in our prayer for protection, and we'll give our sound group a little bit of time to set up for the prosperity plan meeting, and we'll start the prosperity plan meeting as soon as we can, probably around noon, I would imagine. So let's join in our prayer for protection together. And oh, by the way, the healing helper's back here. So anybody who wants to be in a group prayer, please join here. And Peggy, you doing? Okay, so Peggy Ruth is here for individual prayers today as well. So together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, all is well.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all our needs. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joy and song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
True abundance lives in our hearts. So have a great day, everybody.